In this video, I'll show you how to create a query to filter the contents of a survey database. A survey query can be used to filter survey point and figure properties in a survey database. In AutoCAD Civil 3D, survey data is stored in an external survey database. The survey data can be either referenced by a drawing or brought into a drawing as static objects. The Figures Editor and Survey Points Editor vistas display the survey points and figures that are in a survey database. Points and figures are defined by either general properties or extended properties that were either user-defined or brought in from land XML. A query can filter by any of these properties. The query I'll build will include points that have the DTM attribute set to ground, but exclude points that have a description that identifies them as trees. The query will include only figures that have a name that identifies them as building features. When you create a query, you name it, give it an optional description, and then define the query criteria. Separate query criteria are defined for survey points and figures. For either object type, a query can include either none of the objects of that type, all of the objects of that type, or a selection of the objects that meet a set of query criteria. For this demonstration, I'll select by query so that I can find a specific subset of the points and figures in the survey database. When I select a property to query, notice that the query can include not only the general Civil 3D properties, but also user-defined and land XML extended properties. Next, I'll specify what the query looks for in the specified property. The contents of the operator list changes depending on the property that is selected. In this query, I want to find all points that have the DTM attribute that is equal to ground. When I click Display in Editor, the query is executed and only points that have the DTM attribute set to ground are included in the list. Notice that when a condition is added, a new blank condition row is automatically created. You can specify the logic for how the next condition relates to the previous one. Selecting AND specifies that both conditions must be met for a point to be included in the query. Selecting OR specifies that a point will be included in the query if either of the conditions are met. Now, I'll use the same process to exclude survey points whose descriptions indicate that they are trees. The query results are further filtered based on the second condition. Now, I'll specify query criteria for figures using the same process that I used for points. This time, I'll use an OR condition to specify that figures are included in the query if either of those conditions are met. I'll click Display in Editor, and only the figures that meet the specified criteria are included. You can edit the point and figure data and then save it back to the survey database. You can also display a preview of the query results in the drawing. The preview glyph indicates that the graphics are only a preview. You can add the objects to the current drawing using the Insert into Drawing command. To dismiss the preview, click the Preview glyph. Finally, you can save the query to the survey database so that you can modify it or reuse it. Survey queries are a powerful way to filter data in an AutoCAD Civil 3D survey database.